So I've been doing this 28 years. 1998 is when I first got my license. And back then, and I'm not going to give you this whole historical thing to make you feel all warm and fuzzy, but back then, it wasn't easy to get into real estate. There was the old guard that happened to be at that time. And now it seems like the price of admission is a little bit more simple. Of course, you always had to become a realtor, had to pay all those fees and dues, and that's great. Of course, you had to pass the test before that. Price of admission to pass the test was being able to study. The test itself, at least here in California, absolutely tricky. Very, 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 very difficult examination, not from an understanding point of view or a memorization point of view, but the way that the answers are contained within the test, they're incredibly tricky. It's very, very set up that way. And I think it's done on purpose because the price of admission is so low, 18 years old, GED, I think, and that's it. Then you can become a real estate agent making millions of dollars, if not more, every year. After you get your license, that question comes in, well, what brokerage am I going to join? Who gives me the best deal? Well, I guess it comes down to what you're worth, how you can talk to the people, how you're able to convey your worth to the broker. If you're brand new, green behind the ears, I don't know if that works, wet behind the ears, and you want to try to be a part of the brokerage, you might have to work with another team, might have to work with another agent, but some brokers might take a risk and put you on the front lines all by yourself. But there comes this liability thing. You're an independent contractor, but under the brokerage. So whenever you get in trouble, unless you're a broker yourself, and that's just another test, and with some time on the job, depending on education, if you have a particular type of education or a degree, you might be able just to step into that or have a less time to wait, but you do your research. But with regard to working for a broker, you get in trouble. Broker is kind of part of that equation. If you're your own broker, then you almost stand on your own, depending on the relationship and agreement you have with the broker. Let's just talk about regular garden variety real estate agent, brand newly licensed, and then wanting to know where they're going to be, what kind of brokerage they're going to select. When you go and you start interviewing, understand that you can ask them for what you want. What should you ask for? The commission split, that's going to be kind of the same depending on the company. I mean, some companies take half. You want to find out what half looks like and why is it half? Are there leads generated for you as part of that half of your commission agreement? And then also you want to find out what their agreement is as far as branding. Are you able to go outside the lines and maybe establish your own personal brand in accordance with your brokerage brand? Maybe that's what you want to start to do, because in the future with artificial intelligence and these new innovations, that brand is going to be very, very important, a lot more important than it has been to this point. The brokerages is themselves, you might want to look into their historical record too, because some of the brokerages are part of lawsuits currently, and some of them were part of past lawsuits that could potentially be resurrected, or lawsuits that have been settled or waiting to settle. So you want to do your investigations. In addition, you might want to ask the question, and I don't know if at the broker level, especially if it's a franchise, they would actually have the answer, but the question might be, do you see this company, whatever it is, insert the name here, you see them selling or becoming a part of another company? Maybe they get bought or acquired by another company that you don't want to have anything to do with. And maybe they just have a bad track history. Maybe, your parents were screwed by this particular company or whatever it may be. So you might want to do those investigations. And then finally, I think probably the most important part out of all of this is what kind of support they give you. How does that look? What are they going to do to help make you better in the field of real estate? You can go online, you can pull scripts. Lots of these real estate coaches, they give a lot of stuff away for free. You can memorize and learn these, and that's great. But then how do you actually do the mechanisms? Contracts, you can learn. It's those little nuance things, those time on the job things. I was a cop for a long time. I took all the classes, got all the certifications to become a handgun instructor. So I had all the classes. I had the high scores to be able to get allowed to go to the school. So this is with LAPD, and I get to go through the instructor school. So I had enough marks, and I was a good enough shot, knew all the manipulations, and was able to score what I needed to get to the instructor school. So I completed it. So I taught here and there, but really I was teaching more in-service people, which are people that already knew how to shoot. But this was at a divisional level, just to kind of give you some scope. At one time, I got brisked up to the police academy because they didn't have enough instructors. I had the credential. When I got there and I started to be put on the line on the range, out on the range with recruits, That's when I realized I knew nothing about being a firearms instructor. Zero. Went through the class, but that didn't make me a good firearms instructor. What made me a good firearms instructor is watching those people that had done it day in and day out for the last 20 or 30 years, watching them have encyclopedias full of tactics and drills and the ways that they can make somebody that's scared to death of the explosion at the end of that pistol or shotgun, and teach them to embrace it and actually become patient on the trigger, good shots, and going through the manipulations in a high stress environment as it relates to firearms. So I go there with a page of information from me thinking my shit doesn't stink and fantastic in the firearms world to finding out I was nothing. I ate a lot of humble pie those first few months, and I'm still nowhere near the level of a lot of those other instructors that were up at the police academy for Los Angeles. Brilliant people, brilliant tacticians and strategists, incredible. I bring that story into real estate because when you're a brand new agent, you're looking for that proper brokerage. Maybe more important than the brokerage is the agent you align yourself with. Now, if they're going to just extract all of your muchness and pull every single deal you can generate, you, yours, your friends, your family, and basically leave you, by the side of the road to die after, well, that's not the proper one to align yourself with. But if they have a plan in place on how to build you, how to make you better, how to teach you the ropes, how to cover all these things, you can learn the contracts. You can learn the scripts. You can memorize all that stuff, but actually learning that inner working negotiation process with other agents when these problems come up that your sellers are going to face, when these problems come up that your buyers are going to face, know how an expert would handle it, because there's 50 ways to handle something, but really there's only one really good way. But a lot of times that one way is hidden behind newness. So when you have somebody that's knowledgeable, experience, has done this before, they'll have a story for every single scenario. 28 years later in real estate, since 1998, I have a lot of stories. I haven't experienced everything, but I've experienced enough to understand how everything kind of interconnects and relates. So that's maybe a better mindset of where you want to be when you want to join a brokerage. Myself, I chose Sync Brokerage, SYNC Brokerage. They have several offices. It's more of a boutique firm. It's not nationally traded. I think I get a lot of comfort there. I was with a National Change. I've been with Compass. I've been with EXP. I've been with Remax. And Sync is what I like. Maybe that's a good fit for you. I don't know if they take new agents. I've never really asked about that question, but if you look like you might be able to learn, be able to be associated, if you have a good heart and good ethics, I think that's the biggest part solved, because there are way too many people in the business of sales that have no business being there. It's like they were just hatched and they jump in and they just want to rip everybody off so they can run away to Argentina or wherever it is. Like nobody's thought of that before. Anyway, I'm Connor with Honor. If you want to know more, just look me up online, Connor with Honor. Connect with me, and I'll be happy to explain to you how I think Sync is the best, and we can take it from there. That's it. Be well. Thank you for watching.